Trump appointee to CMS, Dr. Oz, recently went on Fox News to lie about people on Medicaid.
When the program was created 60 years ago, it never dawned on anyone that you would take able-bodied individuals who could work and put them on Medicaid. Today, the average able-bodied person on Medicaid, it doesn't work. They watch 6.1 hours of television or just hang out. That's not fair.
Not okay.
No, go out and try to get a job. They argue that we can't do it. They're arguing against the competency of the American people and their government. I would make the argument that if I offer you a deal, I'll give you free health insurance, but you got to get off your tail and go try to go to work, you'll take the deal. Most Americans have already done that.
Okay, so he says, these people, they watch 6.1 hours of TV, or they just hang out. Where'd you pull that information from, Dr. Oz? Maybe, I don't know, the same place that he pulled out all those supposed miracle cures is behind? Look, the reality is 64% of all adult Medicaid recipients work, either full-time or part-time. The rest are elderly, disabled, or are caregivers. This idea that we have hordes of young American, specifically men, by the way, sitting at home in their parents' basement, collecting Medicaid, watching TV and playing video games or whatever is actually really insulting. This is the party that claimed to be in favor, fighting on behalf of young men and boys. I mean, they did get a lot of the youth male vote in this election is saying stuff like this. It doesn't really sound like they're on the side of young men and boys, okay? In reality, they're actually more in favor of robbing young men of their futures in order to give that money, those resources, to the rich and powerful. You know, the ones that are actually sitting on their asses getting government handouts in the form of tax cuts. Those people, the donor class, are the ones making life unaffordable for average American families. But understand, though, Dr. Oz's statements are how they are selling the big bullshit bill. They're just lying about it. That's it. They're just playing into this whole welfare queen angle, okay? Which, yes, is not specifically, you know, racial, but racially coded. Okay. Oh yes, they're you know, driving their big cars, and they're the welfare queens. And then you got, you know, and again going back to Ronald Reagan, he said you got the strapping young bucks. They're buying T-bone steaks with food stamps. That's not true. Okay. I mean, sure, you could buy a steak on food stamps, but then you might have maybe 20 bucks left for the entire month that you have to feed yourself on. That's not very smart. Okay, anybody, and you know, anybody in the audience, especially, right, who has been on food stamps before knows that it takes a lot of planning to make that money stretch for the entire month. And oftentimes it does not stretch for the entire month. It just doesn't. And now, with Trump's bill having been passed and signed into law, you got over $200 billion in cuts to SNAP. You got about $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. And so those are pretty massive. And by the way, the Medicaid funding does not go to the patient. The Medicaid funding goes to hospitals. And you've got a lot of rural hospitals that are now very, very alarmed at these cuts. Some of them might have to close. Many of them might have to close. Rural hospitals rely heavily on Medicaid funding. Many of the patients that they care for are low income. Bruce Siegel, president and CEO of America's Essential Hospitals, said in a statement, quote, "Restrictions on state-directed payments and provider taxes cut off critical financial lifelines for hospitals. State-directed payments are a critical source of support for hospitals, particularly in rural areas, and provider taxes help reduce the gap between Medicaid and other payers, ensuring that physicians can take Medicaid patients and hospitals can be adequately staffed. Cutting these lifelines is not sustainable, and it will harm patients." Well, that's it. That's it. Look, ironically, this is going to harm many more Trump voters than anyone else. I mean, look, when it comes to rural communities, a lot of Trump voters live in rural communities. Okay. According to AP Votecast, 62% of rural voters voted for Trump in the 2024 election, and 36% voted for Kamala Harris. So I'm not saying that there aren't people in rural areas that, are progressive, certainly. But the majority happens to be, well, pro-Trump, right wing. Now, these same rural communities are not only suffering as a result of the ever-changing taco Trump tariffs, right? These threats, which have impacted farms, impacted exports. Not only that, but they're dealing with ICE raids, taking their workforces. But now you have people in those areas that are losing Medicaid and could perhaps lose a lot of these rural hospitals. These voters, I mean, they got conned. Okay, they voted against their own interests and are now, unfortunately for them, having the day that they voted for. Now, there's going to be, as a result of all of this, a lot of people dying. But Dr. Oz and a lot of these Republicans, the message that they're putting out here is, hey, we know that this is going to happen, and we don't care. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.